Welcome back to the morning show here on the Rise News. I'm Rafai Husseini.
I am Adelaja Adeoye.
And I'm Shaitan Atigari. Good morning.
Well, let's change the conversation. The dust is yet to settle on two major controversial bills aimed at regulating social media in the country, with many Nigerians kicking against their passage. Now, the bills are on social media regulation and hate speech prohibition.
Oh, yeah. Current updates on the bills reveal that the Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters has agreed to fix a date for the public hearing on the controversial social media regulation bill. Some critics say the main aim of the social media regulation bill is to curb the use of social media by Nigerians, limit their freedom of speech and their right to criticize policies and decisions of the government.
On the other hand, the hate speech prohibition bill, which seeks to criminalize the offense with death as a penalty, is awaiting a second reading. The bill, sponsored by a former Senate spokesperson who is now the Deputy Senate Whip, Senator Sabi Abdullahi, is entitled National Commission for the Prohibition of Hate Speeches Bill 2019. Abdullahi had sponsored a similar bill in the 8th Senate, which prescribed, among others, death by hanging for anyone found guilty of the offense. Although Senator Sabi Abdullahi has bowed to public criticism of the bill and expressed readiness to expunge the clause that recommends death by hanging as the ultimate penalty for violators of the legislation.
Well, joining us now for a discussion on the raging controversies over the bills are Adelaja Adeoye, the National Publicity Secretary of the Action Democratic Party, ADP, in our Lagos studios here. And from our Abuja studios is Lauratu Umar Abdusalam, a consultant in development communications. Thank you, gentlemen and gentlelady, for joining us this morning. But before we get started, let us take a listen to what the sponsor of the hate speech bill, Senator Sabi Abdullahi, had to say as regards the relevance of his bill when he was on the show last week.
Well, thank you very much. I want to believe society is not static. Society is very dynamic. And if you look at the, the criminal code, the one, or the penal code, for example, the conditions under which the penal code was enacted has drastically changed. And as such, for example, when you look at, breakage, somebody breaking into somebody's room, those days, in the early 60s, 50s, and the like, you don't see people going to steal with guns. You don't see people going to steal with some of the kind of ammunitions or weapons we see today, because those weapons are never even accessible. But today, things have changed. We're no longer talking about a petty thief, which you see in the penal code and all other similar legislations. You are talking about armed robbery. Today, you are talking about kidnapping as a new challenge, which has not been there 20 years ago. And so when you look at society, society is very dynamic. And as new problem comes in, you cannot continuously use the same old tool to solve a problem. You must be, aligned to bringing in commensurate measures that will deal with the problem. And so let me say very clearly, from the global arena, there are so many countries that have addressed the issue of hate speech, depending on what the causative agent, people who are victims as a result of somebody spreading information or misinformation or disinformation that has to do with hatred. And of course, we know hatred has to do with deep emotion, where somebody feels, he doesn't like some people or what they represent. And in doing so, he says certain things that are so intense that at the end of the day, it gets some other people innocently victims because they find themselves.
Well, there you have it, the Deputy Chief Whip of the Senate and the sponsor of the hate speech bill. You would recall there are two different bills, the social media bill and the hate speech prohibition. Gentlemen and gentlelady in Abuja, our guest on the studio today. Let me begin from you, Lauratu Abdusalam, beg your pardon, Umar Abdusalam. Let me begin from you. You heard Senator Abdullahi speaking there. What are your objections to this bill, if any?
I would like to just start from making the point in terms of how significant internet is and the use of internet. And the fact that the internet has actually truly help Nigerians and other countries from the world to kind of improve our development. And also to say that most of our youth in Nigeria, these are the things that they depend on to voice and air their grievances. And also, the internet has also helped to achieve the kind of development goals that Nigeria currently is experiencing. And so any attempt to take that freedom that we have on the usage of internet, of course, will call for this kind of reactions that you have. And so that is understandable, that the act or the action by the lawmakers right now, if you look at it, is an attempt to kind of take that freedom away from the people and from Nigerians. And ordinarily, when you see that, there must be this kind of reactions that we are seeing. Having said that, I would like to just mention that different countries, like he said, have actually propagated the fact that the internet will need to be regulated. But the question you want to ask, the actions taken by the lawmakers, is that the right approach to regulate or to kind of checkmate the excesses of the internet usage? I think the answer is no. And from my own perspective, do I support the kind of bill that the National Assembly is now bringing forward in terms of regulating the internet? I think for me, I do not support the process. I think there are other ways that we can go about it to regulate the internet and not this way that the National Assembly is currently approaching the issue.
Mr. Adelaja, let me bring the conversation to you. You had Senator Zabi Abdullahi, who's one of the sponsors of one of the bills, and he was talking about criticisms about being repetitive and legislative waste of time. He says our extant laws are not up to date with current realities of technology and communication. What are your objections to his bill and the social media bill, if you have any?
Well, let me pick it from the point of our Constitution. If you go to Chapter 4, Section 38 of the Nigerian Constitution, it clearly stated that every person, referring to each and every citizen of Nigeria, whether you are in Nigeria, whether you are anywhere around the world, you have the freedom of conscience, thought, religion, either as a person or as a group of people in a community or wherever. So the social media bill they are bringing is a negation to that law in our Constitution. That's on one part. Again, if you look at it, it's a repetition because we already have what we call Cybercrime Act that deals with anything that has to do with digital or online or internet media. So the question we are asking them is, why are they so engrossed about how people use internet in Nigeria? What are they hiding? Because if you look at it critically, democracy all over the world thrives when people are able to express themselves freely. Freedom of press, freedom of citizen, and every other thing that, that encompasses or that makes up democracy. There was a clip online by former president of US, Barack Obama, where he was talking clearly, I'm sure he's talking to Nigerian government, that democracy can only thrive when there is room for everybody to thrive. But in a case whereby government is trying to regulate, you cannot regulate democracy. Democracy in itself, if you look at the definition, is the government for the people, by the people, and for the people. You understand? But if the democracy is not for the people, that means if you are regulating democracy, it is no longer for the people. So now, what we are looking at is, we are looking at the Senate throwing the bill away totally. On Wednesday, PANDEF, Nigerian Union of Journalists, civil society organization, they are going to National Assembly, to show their displeasure that we don't want this kind of bill in Nigeria. It is anti-democracy. No matter how you look at it, no matter coloration you look at it, of course, we're in a sensitive democratic space, whereby any little thing has a lot of implication and meaning. You understand? So we cannot allow that freedom of expression to be taken away for any reason at all, because The only way we can get back or hold our government accountable, since we are saying that, okay, if you go on the street protesting, we have seen it severally, they will deploy soldier to come and shoot at people, shoot, tear gas canister and all that. But people at the comfort of their home, they can criticize government, they can also chip in their opinion, because it is not just about going to social media to, give false information or whatever. It is also a means we are using to advise the government. Because if the government is not going in the right direction, as we expected, because when these guys were coming on board, they did campaign. There was a manifesto given.
I would like to play the devil's advocate here for a bit. Now, the bring back from this is, he said that the bill is not meant to gag the press, but to regulate it in a way which we can conduct ourselves in the most civilized way using the internet. Now, even based off of, the first reading going through, there was an outcry on social media where a lot of people spoke specifically on the death penalty, and now they've gone back and tried to amend that clause in this new bill. Are you of the opinion that it should be scrapped 100%, or we should there are clauses that need to be adjusted? Because he does make a fair point. He's talking about the fact that he wants to make sure that there are regulations, because social media has been known to cause harm in certain places.
What harm has social media caused in Nigeria? That's the first question we should ask ourselves. Cybercrime Act stipulates what should be done if you face libelous or defamation on internet. We have law courts there to present your case. Okay, we have seen a lot of, even on social media, we have
social media can cause harm. Let me bottom here.
Okay, just hold on. We have seen a case where people, defame themselves on social media. They have seen quite number of, a letter from the law firm, suing a particular person. So you cannot afford to regulate social media. Let people air out their opinion. This is democracy. For democracy to thrive, like I keep insisting, you cannot afford to gag people or regulate what they say and what they don't say.
Okay, let me come in here. How has social media, hurt or deformed people? I don't know if you've heard of something called deep fakes. Deep fakes, the use of video presentation of leaders embedded with other subliminal voices to pass wrong and erroneous messages. It's a talk around the world today. And we're beginning to see that surface in some parts in Nigeria. Deep fakes, for instance. So when you say, how does social media deform people or defame people, we have seen ethnic sentiments being stoked on social media. We have seen all sorts of sentiment being stoked. We have seen violence and chaos. Let's not forget, the social media almost derailed our elections. Some people were putting fake results on social media for fake polling units. It almost affected the electoral. I want you to react to all of this.
Let me tell you something. I'm a politician, okay? I cannot go and take a result you are posting on social media when we have INEC there. INEC, at the commencement of every election, they have a Twitter handle, they have a Facebook account, they have situation room number. Hold on. I want to react to you. Okay.
We'll go on a quick break. We'll come back. You'll react. I know you're passionate about this. We'll come back. We'll talk some more. Very heated conversation this morning here. And also we're having in Abuja with our guest, Lauratu Umar, and our guest here in Lagos. We'll go on a break. We'll come back. Right, we're still talking about the hate speech prohibition bill and the social media bill as it started. I mean, there's another long name for that. I was talking before we went on the break, about just rebutting some positions like she raised. And I talked about the fact that you said, how has social media, hurt people? And I said deep fakes is one of them, which is an existential threat. People posting all sorts of results, stoking all sorts of ethnic sentiments. I mean, this is just for the education of the people. And when we educate our listeners, our audience, I want them to be fully educated with all sides rounded in this conversation. So you want to react to that, and we'll take it up to Abuja afterwards.
Like I was saying before the commercial break, we do have INEC putting out official handles and situation telephone numbers, for people to call, for the public to call, because you cannot expect me to take any results seriously, apart from what I get from the person, the body conducting the election. I think instead of all this, social media speech and all that, the first thing we need to do is we have a department under federal government called National Orientation Agency. Okay, we need to bring out the information to the domain of every citizen. That this, if we do this, this is the implication. If we do that, this is the implication. We have not done that at all. You are blaming the citizen. That is why some of us will go to university. We spend 4 years. We were educated over and over again. What we know before that were not good, we unlearn them when we get to university, and we learn new things. That is a form of public education. So if we have public education, you orientate people. People now know that if they do so thing, it will cause so thing. Okay, then we have not done that. We are just jumping into hate speech, social media regulation bill, when people feel in a country whereby people already have what we call mutual suspicion among all the ethnic group in the country. Government has not even taken step to see how they can bring back that unity, that trust, because the Senate are there. They are not there on their own accord. They were being sent by people. And if they make a certain law and people say they don't want, the people that sent you there say they don't want, you have to, retreat. You retreat. You understand? It's not as if you are going to act as if you want to force it on them by force, by fire, that they must take it. You cannot love Nigeria more than they love themselves. Okay? And if you are making a law for them, you say you want to bring social media bill, you want to bring hate speech. Didn't you look at it that it is outrageous for anybody, a senator being elected by people, to stand up on the floor of National Assembly to say that if there is a libelous hate speech, the penalty is death sentence by hanging.
Just to update everybody, Senator Sayabi Abdullahi has said that they would review the clauses, including the penalty of death attached to his bill. But let's bring back Abdusalam into this conversation. The severity of the menace of Facebook cannot be overemphasized. It was Professor Wale Soyinka, the Nobel laureate, that said some time ago that the Third World War would likely start from false news and it's likely to be started by a Nigerian. How do we regulate social media without infringing on the rights of Nigerians? I mean, those rights are granted by the Constitution as well. But then we do have the menace of social media.
Yes. Thank you very much, Adisu and Rufai. I think I like the point that has been said around how social media can actually affect Nigerians and how it has affected other countries. While I agree with what Adelaja has said, so many of the things that he has said, but we're here to educate Nigerians, and we have to educate them well, in the sense that if you look at the bill that is being sponsored now and the content, of course, no Nigerian will agree with the content of that bill. However, what we should also be looking at is how social media can actually cause hatred and can also cause other form of disaffection among Nigeria. So the question also is how, if we are not in support of this kind of bill, how do we want to regulate our social media? And that's my point, that yes, the social media needs to be regulated. UNESCO recently came out with a report on the need for countries, different countries, especially African countries, to come up with some form of regulation. The question you also want to ask, do we need a bill for that? I don't think we need a bill for that. I think we have existing laws that can actually be strengthened to help Nigerians to regulate the way we use social media, so that at least it can protect us. It can also bring about peace in the country. So you also talked about the National Orientation Agency. I think one of the problems that we have with our colleagues, the distinguished colleagues from the National Assembly, is sometimes when issues like this are coming up, nothing is being done. Somebody just coming from nowhere to sponsor a bill overnight without even looking at what are the kind of information that is there. Who are the experts? Who can direct the kind of bill that we're looking for? So research is not done. I know that they have constituent allowance. What are these things used for? Of course, it's to conduct research. It's to relate with experts so that we can understand what hate speech is, how social media can also be used to protect Nigerians, and to also protect the kind of peace that we want to see. Totally agree with the kind of outrage that you're having out there. I've spoken with a lot of youth and everybody, and Nigerians in diaspora, and everybody has this fear. There's no trust. Anything that the government wants to do, there is also because that government has not really come up to say, please trust me, and I'm going to do this. They are not bringing citizens on the table to understand what they want to do. So for me, I support regulation, but this process of regulation or bringing about bill is totally condemnable. The content of it, the issue of hanging, of course, I heard this morning that the senator has brought a press release to say that they are going to kind of revise the content, the issue of hanging in terms of hate speech. That is also to show you that a lot of research has not gone down. Somebody just woke up and just decided to say, we want a social media bill, copying from another country and bringing it to Nigeria without understanding the context that we have, without even understanding what the pulse of the people are. And that is what I think Nigerians need to know. The government is not doing enough. I think the civil society organization need to do more. The bill, for me, is not something that we should support. The aspect of gagging, of course, protection is different, but gagging and taking our freedom of expression is something that we should not entertain at this point.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Lauratu Umar Abdusalam. I want to take it up from where she stopped and, frame the question. I mean, there's been a lot of talk in the public sphere about this being a direct copy of the Singaporean bill. I mean, I read that document, about 67 pages of that document. And there were a lot of similarities, but the case of plagiarism, I can't answer that. I'm just a journalist and I'm here to do my job. But I want to talk about another bill that the president did not assent to. That's the freedom of, use on the internet bill. The bill scaled through the National Assembly, 2017, scaled through House of Rep, finally passed to it. And he talked about the fact that there were a lot of very verbose technicalities to that bill. I'll have thought that Crusaders for this bill would push that other bill out that, fully demonstrates the rights of people using the internet. What's your take on that bill?
Well, if you look at government, whether state government or federal government, they are always against anything that have to give citizen freedom. Taking an example, Lagos State, for instance, with Freedom of Information bill has been domesticated, has been passed into law by the last administration of Goodluck Jonathan. But here in Lagos State, they refuse, even though if you send a letter to them to ask for certain information, okay, they even made steps to go to court to stop that bill from being implemented in Lagos State. So coming back to federal government, it's still the same thing, because you see, the way government is run in Nigeria, I don't think that's the way it should be run, because government officials, they feel they are not accountable to the electorate that elected them into power. Also. Because if they feel so, look at a typical example. Nigerian people are saying they don't want SP bill, they don't want this, and they are going forward. There has been a lot of agitation, there has been a lot of reactions and things like that. Okay, if the Senator Sabi or whoever that copied this thing from Singapore, why didn't they go to China to go and copy, a law that punish corrupt government officials? Of course, we hear what happened in China, in North Korea. What happened to their corrupt official? Why didn't they take cue from that side and say, if you embezzle public fund, where you will be executed? Okay. They didn't go into that one, but they are quick. They are in a hurry to see how they can stop people from
use of the internet bill. Okay. Talk about that. What advocacy have you done as regards that bill, since the president did not assent to it?
Well, you see, there are too many issues in the country. Okay, we have been confronted by so many issues every day. I just spoke to you about what Jonathan did. You see, he left a legacy, and we are talking about legacy here today. That during his time, he felt that every Nigerian are entitled to their own freedom of speech as enshrined in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria under Chapter 4, Section 38. But the person at the ends of affairs now, maybe he might be having a contrary opinion to that. That's why he didn't sign that bill. But what we can do is our president, is for us to see how we can continue to advocate that, Mr. President, we want you to leave a good legacy, and based on what you do is what we are going to remember and what we are going to be talking about tomorrow. So we will continue to engage the government and continue to...
Okay, let's go to Lauratu in Abuja. Lauratu, you'd like to comment on that bill that the president refused to assent to, was about the freedom of use of, freedom of the rights of people using the internet.
Yeah, that's also there, and I don't know why. The other part that I wanted to hinge on is the aspect of the constitutional review, for instance. You look at the constitutional review, a lot of things are happening, and people have been calling for a review of the constitution, because if we think that the social media bill is not what we want, because we have other acts that actually respond to the social media, the negative of social media and the positive of social media. And you look at it, you look at the laws, they are quite archaic. Why is the National Assembly not spending their time to look at how this law can be reviewed so that it can fit the context that we have right now? Why? So,
okay, Lauratu, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back to you and we'll continue the conversation. We'll just go on a quick break. We'll be right back. Still morning show here on the Rise News.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. We're still joined in our Abuja studios by Lauratu Umar Abdulsalam, a consultant in development communications, and in our Lagos studios by Mr. Adelaja Adeoye, the National Publicity Secretary of the Action Democracy Party, ADP. Now, I would like to talk about the senators that are trying to enforce this bill. Now, we know that this bill was introduced on November 5th by Mr. Sani. And we have seen about 2 other senators who have come on board to support this bill. And there's a pattern here, especially when it comes to social media. Now, Mr. Mo Sani himself was outed on social media for being an APC member while allegedly handling card reader contracts in the 2015 elections. Senator Elisha Abbo has a very popular case, an ongoing case actually, where he assaulted a woman and was called out on social media, which brings the question, is this bill put in effect for their own selfish interest or for the interest of the Nigerian citizens? What's your take on this? Because there is a pattern here. These men that have come forward to push this bill have been outed at one point or the other on social media.
Well, if you look at it critically, like I have been saying anywhere and everywhere, you see, laws are made for people, and laws are not made because of the senators. So, and based on the events in the past, where we saw Senator Abbo at the sex toy shop, harassing a woman, that same social media, as you see that outrage, there were still some people that used that social media to stand for him, to stand with him, rather, okay? So, for someone to look at maybe event of the past and got embarrassed by the outrage or the number of people that spoke out, then for him, maybe hinging his support for such a bill at the National Assembly, that is not good or fair enough, if that's the reason why he's supporting the bill. But on a general view, I feel every Nigerian that really want democracy to thrive, that want democracy, that want us to advance like other countries of the world, like US and things like that, we have to allow citizens to express their mind anyhow they feel they can express it. That's why I told you that we already have an existing law, Cybercrime Act, that takes care of all of these things that they are trying to repeat. Imagine somebody earning 13.5 million naira every month could not do research, extensive research on, just like how
are you sure I didn't research it? Just
like the lady in Abuja said.
Because those are big allegations. Yeah. How are you sure that this person did not
research?
If
they do research, we will not have a bill that is like almost 100% similar to what was, seen somewhere. I said it will not be seen. It's not outright allegation. But if you look at the bill that everybody's talking about on the internet, wherever the source may have been, and the one that they are presenting at the National Assembly, the similarity are too obvious and too many. okay? But that's why the lady in Abuja said that there should have been research, there should have been a lot of things that should have been. We should have also consulted the people. You understand? There are so many methods you can use. You can use strata method and all those things to get the feeling of the people
I would like to
about
bring
a particular
our
issue.
guest in Abuja, in Ms. Lauratu. What's your take on this? Are we seeing a pattern here based on the people that have defended this bill? Is it in their selfish interest or is it in the interest of Nigerians?
Thank you very much, Shaitan. One thing, the question you would like to ask again is, who is afraid of social media? And I think the answer has been answered. I mean, the question has been answered sufficiently by Adelaja and you guys. For me, I think what is happening right now is having National Assembly or our distinguished members who are not ready to kind of work with the people and work with the current agencies that we have. For instance, the National Assembly, the National Orientation Agency, the National Broadcasting Commission, the NBC, and then the NCC, that's Nigerian Communication Commission. What is it that they are doing with this agency? What are the National Assembly doing? If you're going to come up with this law or this bill, I think a lot of consultation should have happened. So you look at the issue of social media hate speech and the commissioning or the creation of another commission, which is totally going to be at conflict with others. So a lot of things is going on. And before we went on break, I was actually talking about the open government partnership, which the government of Nigeria has signed into. What is happening? Why are people not consulted? Why are citizens not involved in decisions? Before a bill is sponsored, the Honorable Sani Musa should have consulted with their communities. Experts should have come in to say these are the things that we think can go with based on the political, economic situation of Nigeria. And you don't go and bring in something that is quite alien to our country and our situation. So the commission, for me, is totally something that should not even be, that should not come in. And why do we have two laws at the same time by these two senators? Social media bill and hate speech bill. What is the difference? Why are we creating things that are not even going to move this country forward? We have the issue of corruption. Why are they not looking at bills that will actually hold people accountable and also punish corrupt leaders? Why are they taking us back? That's the question you should ask.
And answered questions, and I do agree with you, because in 2016, there was actually a similar bill by the then deputy Senate leader as well. It was the prohibition, if I can just find it, yes, the similar bill to regulate social media. It was called the Frivolous Petitions and Prohibitions Bill by then Deputy Majority Leader Ibn Nala. And you wonder why we keep having this resurgence of these bills. What are the lawmakers getting wrong? But I would like to ask you, because there are those that say that this is a sinister political move, a grand plan. But we had the president speak on Friday to counter insinuations about a supposed third-term bid. Do you think that the president speaking out puts to rest these insinuations that the social media regulation bills that we're seeing are a sinister plan to help the ruling party seek a third term?
I wouldn't want to get involved in the issue of politics, but of course here, the president has honorably come out to say that I'm not interested in running for third time, and that's their own issue as far as me I'm concerned. But for us, Nigerians, I think it is high time that we begin to stand up and demand from our leaders that we need to be involved in policy making. We also need to be involved when issues like social media bills are coming up. People should consult. And I think if you look at other countries, people are calling for regulation of social media. But how are they doing, or how are they conducting those kind of regulation? What is it responding to? If you look at the hate speech bill, of course, who defines hate speech? How do we know that if you say Lauratu is stupid, does it mean hate speech? Because there are instances where, for instance, the Nigerian Broadcasting Commission was talking about some radio station having something to do with hate speech. So who is the person that defined hate speech? So these are the things that we should be looking at. I think we have a very long way to go. Taking away and I'm sorry, Shanito, that I didn't respond to that question properly, but I think that we have a lot of problems on our table that we can deal with to help Nigeria and push Nigeria forward. And copying from Singapore, whatever it is, I think Singapore has gone far. Why are you not taking us to that level where Singapore is presently? Why are they taking us back? And that's the question I keep asking. We are not being involved in lawmaking, as in policies, and people are not talking to us, and they are coming down to tell us, you want to take away the freedom of the internet that we have, where we can air our view, where we can challenge even the president, whether he wants to take another third time or not. I think we've had enough. And I think the federal government should begin to listen to us. And I think our lawmakers should begin to look at the kind of laws that we have, policies. The Cybercrime Act is there. It was signed in 2015. And if you look at the content of that Cybercrime Act, it takes care of regulation of even the social media. And it's not just about the Yahoo thing. It's also about what we send out and the information that people send out. And I think we need to begin to educate ourselves. And for instance, the National Orientation Agency, they are responsible agency that will enlighten Nigerians. How well are this National Assembly working with them? How long, how many times do they work with these people to even get the pulse of Nigerians before a bill is sponsored?
Okay, I'll just quickly push this to both of you now. Now that we have seen all of this, a public hearing will be coming out soon. I mean, a lot of people have kicked out as a result of this. Adelaja Adeoye, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, did say this is not a good one. Femi Falana said he will attend a public hearing. What should be the public hearing like? How should Nigerians mobilize during this public hearing? I'll come to you first. I'll come to you, my Lagos studio here, and afterwards I'll come to Abuja, and we'll talk about this real quickly.
Well, I think it's a good one that Nigerians are standing up to their rights because, like I said previously, laws are not made for those lawmakers. They are made for consumption of Nigerians. So if you make a law that they feel is going to tilt them to the edge of the cliff, they have the right to reject because it is the money they are deducting from our salary, from our businesses that they are using to fund you. So if you make a law and we say we don't want, you should be honorable enough to beat a retreat, okay? Then the public hearing, of course, is going to be engaging, because the lawmakers will explain why they made such laws. Okay, Nigerians will now tell them what they feel as exception in those laws and why they don't want law. So it's going to be a dialogue. It's not going to be something confrontational or maybe a luta or protest or whatever. So it's going to be mature because the people that I've seen so far that will be attending the public hearing, in fact, my political party, ADP, also is going to be part of the people that will be there. You understand? Based on this and some other bills that we are engaging the National Assembly for.
I still wanted Abuja to answer that. Lauratu will answer that. Lauratu, you can just start up, and afterwards we'll go on a quick break. Just know I caught you for a quick break. What should be the stance of the public hearing? What should people talk about? Yeah.
I think it's a good one that the opportunity is open for people to come and discuss. Although the deed has been done, Nigerians has been sent into kind of panic attack, and people are agitating, and people are coming out to say no to you. This is what should have happened before. They should have called Nigerians to the table to discuss what can we do. UNESCO report is saying that countries should begin to regulate social media so that they don't take us to that Rwanda kind of experience. And then you're coming up with this kind of sensitive things without having the pulse of Nigerians. This is what should have happened. However, I advise that even if people are going there, and I know that a lot of people have expressed interest.
We'll quickly go for a quick break. We'll come back and we'll talk more to you. Thank you so much. Okay, still a morning show here on Arise News, and we're having a very heated conversation about the social media bill and the hate speech. You said you wanted to give a quick rebuttal. Let me allow you to have that quick rebuttal quickly before Shayita comes in with a question. Okay.
You asked question about the third term agenda and all that Mr. President came out.
I mean, since we've gone through that, I think we should just,
there's something I'd like to respond to in that. Okay. President came out on Friday to say he even swore that he's not coming out, he's not doing anything. Yeah. But it is insulting on the office of the president for a member of APC to come out yesterday or day before yesterday to say they have gone to court on Wednesday last week that they should amend the constitution to allow the president to go out to go for the third time.
Okay,
it is a disrespect on the office of the president. If you have gone to court on Wednesday last week, and president came out on Friday, which is 2 days after, to tell the whole world that he is not running for a term, then you now deem it fit to bring it into the media on Sunday or Saturday. I think we need, these are things we need to check so that they don't overeat the polity in the country.
I agree, but I want us to talk about, now obviously we're talking about the social media bill, the hate bill, where this originated from. Now on social media, there was a call for the cancellation of both bills. A petition was brought up, I think, 2 days ago, and they needed 35,000 signatories. As of this morning, we had 70,000 people who had signed that petition. How does that segue into the public hearing that's happening very soon? Does it have an actual effect? I'd like Mrs. Lauratu to take on this one before we come back to you in the Lagos studio. 70,000 people, 12,000 Nigerians have said that they don't want this bill. How does that affect the public hearing going forward?
I think I agree with this number of people in Nigeria that have come forward to say that no to this kind of bill. Because if you look at the content of the bill on its own, it's not something that we should even talk about. It's quite like draconian. It's quite like taking us back to the Stone Age. I think it will really set the agenda for discussion during the public hearing. However, it is not to say that we are in agreement to kind of any amendment, for instance, to the kind of bill that has been presented to us. No. I think there are institutions. For instance, if you look at other nations or other countries that have a form of regulation of the internet or the social media or trying to curb hate speech, you look at the service providers. What exactly are they doing? How can they? Because the issue of trust comes in when you see a government that wants to regulate the social media. And that's what we've been talking about this morning. So the government is trying to say, I need to regulate this, I need to regulate that. And so what it means is that if the law is taken by the government, it means that it can be used unnecessarily, especially during election. So I think the public hearing, for me, it is an opportunity for us to table our fears and to table the fact that this and the content of the bill as it is right now is not something that we even want to discuss. I think we should go back to the kind of acts that we have and see where there are gaps and how those gaps can be strengthened. I think that is the way to go. And I think the fact that a lot of Nigerians have signed this petition is also a form of a progressive means of kind of discussion. And I don't think it should be combatant. I think it should be a dialogue. It should be an opportunity for our distinguished members to start learning lessons that when things like these are coming up, there is need for them to kind of consult with the citizens, with the people, and the experts. For crying out loud, Umati is there in Kenya. A lot of things has happened. If you talk about the social media hate speech, even in Nigeria, CITAD has been doing a lot of things in terms of monitoring online space. The question you want to ask, what are the social media service providers doing? How can they come in? Because until you have an independent body that can kind of put that kind of regulation, Nigerians will not trust the government, because if the government of today can also be come up with different ways of kind of regulating, for instance, the opponents. And so the fears of Nigerians really is something that everybody will understand. But the public hearing, I think, is an opportunity that we have to take very seriously.
Thank you so much, Lauratu. What about you? What's your opinion? 70,000 people have come out. Do you think this is a fair representation of Nigerians that don't go with this bill?
Well, the petition needed 35,000 people, and we have almost over double of that figure. That shows to you that Nigerians are not in agreement with what the senators are currently doing in terms of this hate speech and the social media bill. Of course, it is expected that a senator earning 13.5 million of our tax, payer fund every month should have gone ahead to conduct simple research. This change.org that Nigerians are now going, they're supposed to be the one to first put out that question through that means, so that people now vote, okay, whether they want it, whether they don't want it. Of course, if you see the lady in Abuja, she agreed that actually we need to have regulation of social media, but we should do it in certain way. Do you understand what I'm saying? But that certain way that we should be able to do it that's what the senators coming up with this bill didn't go to do. You understand what I'm saying?
Let me bring back Lauratu into this conversation, because she is a communication expert. And I want to ask you, Lauratu, because there is a submission by some people who say the reason why false news and fake news that the government is trying so hard to fight now, the reason it thrives and spreads quickly in Nigeria is because public officials are more often than not forthcoming with public information. To what extent is this submission true? And is it as simple as that? An open, forthcoming information sharing system, does that curb this?
I think there are lots of petitions by media rights agenda, I think, that has been following. A lot of agencies have refused to even open up their information to respond to that FOI bill. And that's also another challenge. But what I want us to talk about is that the Rwanda experience holds many lessons for humanity to learn. And what I'm trying to say is that if you look at a lot of our social media, perhaps influencers, if you agree with me, and people that have influence when they use social media, and if you look at the kind of information that goes in there, a lot of times, people that you respect, people that you think are quite influential, and people look out for them to kind of talk to them and give them information that is factual, a lot of times you have question marks to some of the things that they share. And that is why I am bringing the issue of Rwanda for us to learn lessons from. And why I'm also saying that, yes, there's a form of regulation that I will support, but not the way that the senators have presented it, and not that approach. I think that approach is totally wrong, and I think that we can do it better. And I think also that our social media our platform can be used better, and I think that is the point that they are trying to stretch, although doing it this way is something that is totally alien to Nigerians, and I think we can do it better. I also think that the social media currently, the way you say it, and the aspect of fake news, of course, I don't agree with fake news, because news is objective. If it is fake, it doesn't relate to a news. And the extent that people are using it, the question you want to also ask is that journalists will need to also up their game. Because if you see a fake news online, where do you validate it? So if the journalists are the ones that are even propagating this fake news, then it becomes an issue for us. And that is why the distinguished members are trying to come up with certain things to kind of stop people. Of course, the approach is totally wrong, and I think we can go back to the UNESCO report, why the need for countries to begin to kind of bring some form of regulation. And I think Nigerians can begin to talk about it. How do we do it? How do we go about it so that we don't infringe on our freedom of expression?
We keep saying there are better ways that this could have been done. I'm asking you now, you're kicking against it. What are the Mr. Adelaja, what are the better ways that we could, have brought this home? If you were to write a bill, for instance, what would be the penalty? What would be the fine? How would you go about it? How would you even lobby it? Let's talk about practical solutions now.
Very quickly.
Well, the truth is, as myself as a person, I cannot come up with a bill that is going to stop citizens from expressing their views. You see, why we have people come to social media to vent their anger is because government is not doing the right thing. Okay. If government is doing the right thing, nobody have any reason to come online.
Big thank you so much. Thank you also to you, Lauratu, in Abuja. That brings us to the end of the show today. I'm Rufai Hosseini.
I'm Adelaja Adeoye Lauratu Umar.
And I'm Sheto Atigari. Thank you for watching. From our entire team here in Lagos, enjoy the rest of your morning and, of course, the rest of your day. Goodbye.